Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films. I have Ingraven back with me today. We're going to talk some football. We're going to talk about rookie receiver Rashod Bateman. I wanted to get Ingraven's thoughts about him just in general. And Ingraven, how are you doing today? And thank you very much for joining us.
Oh yeah, no problem. I'm good. I'm good. I appreciate you having me on again, man. Thanks for that.
Hey, usually I have to tell people where they can find you, but I'm sure you know all about Team Keep It Clean. I was going to sing the intro. I'm not going to sing the intro. Said that last time, but it does feel like a dream. YouTube Team Keep It Clean. Maybe you can put me on one of your. You can cut that up and like do the auto tunes and stuff, man. Get me sounding good on there. But hey, Rashod Bateman, I brought you on. I wanted to get your thoughts on him.
Mhm.
Overall, just give me. Can you just give me your overall impressions first, before we dig into it?
I mean, so far so good. When I watched film on him from college, I love what I saw. I love the smooth route running ability, and it seems as if the Ravens that's the direction that they really are trying to go in this year. When it comes to their wide receivers as a whole, but because it seemed with like Hollywood and with Boykin, like they went for size and speed. And not taking anything away from their route running ability, because I actually think that Hollywood's route running is actually a bit underrated. But
Yes.
because the Ravens, the way that they use him, I wish that they would use him a bit differently. Like I wish they would use him in the regular season how they do in the playoffs. But with Rashad Bateman, they seem to really want to work on route running, and then especially with bringing in T. Martin and Keith Williams, they really want to work on route running because they know they got guys that can fly, that got speed, that can catch all that good stuff. But route running is key, and I think that's probably the most important attribute for any wide receiver. Well, obviously besides catching, is route running because no matter how tall you are, no matter how fast you are, no matter how slow you are, if you have great route running, then you'll be able to get separation away from the cornerback. So with Rashad Bateman, I'm excited for him. But because the thing with him, he got good route running and he got speed too. But my biggest thing is that we've seen all the highlights and stuff from OTAs and from minicamp and all that, which are nice. They're pretty. They look beautiful. It's so just wonderful to see. But now the pads getting ready to come on for training camp, and then of course we'll see more, even more in preseason. And so I'm not like I'm excited to see him, and I think he's gonna be fine. But I'm not going to just what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily not be on the hype train, but just for me, it's gonna be seeing is believing because all that stuff has to translate. Everything has to translate to the NFL level. And again, like I said, I think it will, especially because he's working what he's going up against and what he'll be going up against in training camp. He'll be going up against Marlon Humphrey. He'll be going up against Marcus Peters. He'll be going up against Jimmy Smith. And he'll be going up against Tavon Young. And when you hear those names, definitely the first two, Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters, they two of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. Not just the AFC, not the AFC North, but in the NFL. They have made a name for themselves and established consistency over the years. So for Rashad Bateman as a rookie to be stepping into that situation, going against them, it can only do wonders for him.
Well,
And then with the other two, Tavon Young and Jimmy Smith, they some of the better cornerbacks in the NFL. And I think Jimmy Smith, when he's healthy, he's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL.
yep.
But he just hasn't been healthy. But that's a whole nother story. But for Rashad Bateman to be going up against that as well, it's a really good thing for him. And another thing too with him is that there will be a little less pressure on Rashad Bateman this season. Even being a first round draft pick, there will be less pressure because the Ravens already have Hollywood, and they added Sammy Watkins. So you figure that Rashad Bateman, he's still gonna get in the mix, of course, but Hollywood and Sammy Watkins are guys who I figure will be starting out from the jump. Those will be the Ravens' primary wide receivers, and Rashad Bateman, he'll still get in the mix and whatnot. But I think that with the Ravens too, a thing about their wide receivers this year. I mean, we could have said the same thing last year as well, but they have guys who you can move around. Like you can have Hollywood outside, you can have Hollywood in the slot. You can have Sammy Watkins on the outside, you can move him inside too. Same way with Rashad Bateman. But when his number is called, it's very important that he answers. and that for whatever opportunities that he does get, he just stays ready. And one big thing too that I hope to see not only from Rashod Bateman, because he definitely has the ability to, but from all the other wide receivers as well, along with the upgraded route running, um, and also the upgraded route implementation too by the coaching staff, and um, would be the yards after the catch. I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Would be the yak yards, because Ravens receivers they'll make some catches, but the yards after the catch definitely could use some improvement.
Well, yeah, there's a lot there to dig into, and I agree with almost all of it. The one thing I'll kind of maybe push back a little, maybe it's not
Mm-hmm.
pressure on Bateman. The pressure is going to be on Greg Roman because Ravens fans are going to want to see Rashod Bateman catching the ball week one,
Mm-hmm.
drive one, the first drive. Where's Bateman at? They're going to be looking for him. So
Yeah.
the pressure might not be on Bateman himself though, because like you said, and then you didn't even mention Andrews. So you got Hollywood, you got Andrews, you got Sammy Watkins, all reliable targets. So yes, Bateman's going to be put in some situations that I believe are going to be very advantageous to him, whereas
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood's used to the grind. But I like a couple of things that you said. One is the focus on the route running. Torrey Smith, Perryman, Boykin, Hollywood, all either size and or size and speed guys. You saw this year with Tylen Wallace and Bateman, of course. Route running is a focus. Even Duvernay, speed guy from last year. So they bring in Coach T, they bring in Coach Keith, they draft route runners. To me, that's an entire change of philosophy. And then also on the practice field, I expect Hollywood will probably be in his regular spot on the right of the offense a lot. He's primarily a Z receiver. When you put him out off on X and put him in the line on the line of scrimmage, sometimes Hollywood can have trouble getting off a press. So I'm looking at practice, and I look at Bateman over there on the X, and in the slot, of course, he'll be facing Tavon. But man, he's going to have Marlon Humphrey pressing him up at that line of scrimmage, and he's gonna have to outrun Anthony Averett, and he's gonna have
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy up on his you know what on the line of scrimmage too. So Bateman is definitely going to get a chance to show out and refine his game during this long 6 week off season, and there's
Right.
extra time before the last preseason game and the first season. So it's like seems like an extra long preseason. So yeah, man, that was a lot. That was a lot, and I agree with everything that you said. It's going to be beautiful to watch. So do you expect him? I'm guessing that from what you just said, you expecting him to kind of ease into things as
Mm-hmm.
as it goes along. And can you talk
Yeah.
about like expectations? Maybe do you have any final numbers or like how is he going to fit in this whole thing?
Yeah, I expect him to be eased in slowly but surely. But like you did say, there is pressure on Greg Roman. And I think that pressure is started before the Ravens even drafted Rashod Bateman and Tylen Wallace. That pressure, in my opinion, started when they hired T. Martin and Keith Williams because they brought in guys who specialized and where Greg Roman doesn't specialize in as an offensive coordinator. Obviously, Greg Roman, the running game is amazing. It's very detail oriented. I know a lot of us, and even oftentimes myself too, I wouldn't appreciate just how detail oriented Greg Roman's run game was. He is a master at it. He does a phenomenal job with it. That's his thing. He excels at it. He does great. But when it comes to the passing game, that's when I mean it's been consistent. His running game is always at least top five, at least. But the passing game is usually like bottom five, bottom 10. But anyway, with Greg Roman, I think there's certainly a pressure on him because they brought in, like I said, those guys. Those guys' strengths are his weaknesses. So when you have those coaches added to your coaching room, then it's like, oh, okay, well, let me step it up because I have no choice but to. So it's important that Greg Roman implement things that they're saying, that Keith Williams and T. Martin are saying, and that they have a voice when it comes to this whole thing on offense. And with Rashod Bateman, as far as numbers predictions, I would say, mm, I would say, it all just depends.
Putting you
If
on the
Sammy
spot.
Watkins stays no, yeah, I'm fine with it, but I think it all depends on Sammy Watkins. That's my biggest thing. I think it depends on him.
Me too.
Now, we all hope, of course, we all hope Sammy Watkins, full season, 17 games. Let's get in, of course, playoffs as well.
All right, then Graven, I'll interrupt you for a second. Let's
Go
say
ahead.
I've done this myself. I think it has exactly to do with Sammy. Let's say we get 12 games of Sammy.
Okay.
So,
Hmm.
so maybe Rashod takes a bigger role in only four of the
Yeah.
17, or
Hmm.
12, 13 games of Sammy and four without him. Say.
Um, I would say I say 63 catches. Um, I say 5 touchdowns and I say 750 yards.
I give him a little fewer catches and more yards because I do think his yak is sneaky. Um, it's funny because he doesn't have like a lot of juke moves, but he seems to find those angles real nice, and he seems to
Mm,
have good field vision, and he's not afraid to take or give a hit. In Rashod Bateman, I'm talking about. So
mm.
it's like almost like kind of Willie Snead, like a little more
Oh,
athletic and fast, but Willie
uh-huh.
was just like so slippery. You notice
Yeah.
he was getting that yak just by good balance and just spinning off of somebody. And I see
Uh-huh.
Bateman as like a really aggressive player after the catch. Like he's more Adrian Peterson than Jamal Charles with the ball in his hand. Say, he's kind of aggressive. I see Bateman, but I like those projections. I'm glad got you to step out there and give some. And man, I wish that I had something to pick on. Something that we could bounce back and forth. But honestly, Ingraven, that's kind of how I see Bateman's role. Now, I will say that I think that Bateman's flexibility, along with Tylan Wallace, may give Hollywood a chance to blow up. I talked
Oh yeah.
about this with Simply. If Hollywood can get off a press, or like say a team, I gave an example of the Steelers with Joe Hayden. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but Joe Hayden stays on the left side. So he's always on that side, playing the strong side of the formation. And they don't have a lot of talent opposite him. They lost Steven Nelson, they lost Hilton. So, like, say you're facing a team like Pittsburgh, this year's Steelers, and you have a weak cornerback over on the right side. I could see
Mhm.
them lining up Hollywood and say, Hollywood, you can beat that man off of press coverage. You go ahead, and we're going to give you 10 targets this game because you're just flat out better than the other team's right cornerback.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, if that's the case, then that would something that I think is very important along those lines is the Ravens, are the Ravens making those adjustments and really trying to take advantage of opponents' weaknesses, and also more so them putting their players in a position to succeed, when especially their wide receivers. Because I feel like that was somewhere where we definitely slipped up last season. Um, but at the same time, something that I think about, and I know somebody else brought this up. I think it was my guy Jamil. Is that the Ravens? They didn't have an off season last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not necessarily an excuse because nobody had an off season last year. But as far as them implementing different things in the offense and whatnot, they didn't get to do that. So hopefully, with the full off season that they have now, they'll be able to do those things. They'll be able to be ready to make different adjustments, implement different things in their offense and whatnot. And like I said, take advantage and create more mismatches.
Well, Engraven, I really thank you for joining me today. It's just been a pleasure talking to you these two videos. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Football is family, and like I said, I wish we could have had a better back and forth there on Bateman, but quite frankly, man, like I stick to my guns. I agree with you. So uh, I agree with you on just about everything, man. It's going to be an exciting season. The no off season definitely hindered us because teams made adjustments, and you could see as we went on, we didn't have the personnel to do it, and we didn't have the time to do it. So with the new weapons that we have, the new interior offensive line strength, I expect
Mhm.
those receivers and the new coaches. I expect Coach T and Coach Keith to have their set of pass plays that they bring to the table. Nothing but optimism over here, man. So thank you so much again for joining me, Graven. God bless you, and I will catch you. I will be watching your videos and commenting on them.
No problem. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, thank you.